are looking for the Community Voices Roundtable on New Year, New Insights, you're in the right place. So let's see. Everyone's still filing in, but I will go ahead and just kind of get us started and introduce our panel here today. First of all, thank you all for joining us. If you're here, we're excited. It's a new year. It's 2023. We're going to talk about all the things in 2023, some things in 2022, and then see what we get out of it. So today on our panel, I'm going to start with Audrey Edwards. So she's the Health, Fitness, and Wellness Director at the Boston JCC. And then we have Santiago Prada. He's the Senior Executive of Membership and Wellness at the YMCA of the Virginia Peninsulas. And then we have Efrain Gonzales, the Executive Director at the YMCA of Pierce and Kitsap counties. Hope I said that right, Kitsap. Yeah, so thank each of you for being here today. I know we're going to get into some really exciting topics, and I know you guys have some really great takeaways. So for anybody tuning in, if you have any questions during the conversation, please feel free to send those over in the Q&A feature at the bottom. You can also just pop in the chat and say hello or tell us where you're from or anything like that. Any questions, we'll circle back to those at the end and make sure we get those answered for you. So before we pop into all the big serious questions, I wanted to do a fun little icebreaker for everyone. So I was just thinking it's like the new year. It's kind of like movie, television, awards times, right? So did anybody else watch the Golden Globes? I watched the Golden Globes. So it was on my mind. So I wanted to see if each of you had a movie you watched recently that you would recommend and why. Audrey, do you want to go first?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I haven't seen a movie in some time, but I just binged a Netflix series called The Recruit.
Okay.
And loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I would strongly recommend that. Very suspenseful, was good. It was really good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, television series work too if you're not a big movie person. Okay. Santiago.
I have to add The Recruit to my list, Audrey, because I love
so
binging.
Good.
So I went to go see Avatar, the new Avatar movie, and it's been a while since I had seen the first one, so I had to watch that one, and then I've already seen the second one twice because I had to see it in 3D, and then I have my wife who doesn't appreciate the 3D; it makes her dizzy. So it's always really cool to see how much farther they push like graphics and animation, and it was a really cool experience. So recommend it.
I have heard great things about that. Yeah. Okay. Efrain?
Yeah, Santi, Avatar, that's an investment, man. 2 times. It's like a whole day of your life, but it was a good movie. I would say with the shows as well, I've been just reveal a little bit of a side of me. I love K-dramas, and I've been watching Attorney Woo on Netflix. Highly recommended if you're into any kind of like dramas or novellas and stuff. That's my vice.
Perfect. All right, everyone heard it here first. You got some new shows and or movies to watch. Okay, great. Thank you all for answering those. So let's go ahead and get started. I think at the beginning of this conversation, we wanted to just talk about some of the things from 2022 before we go on to this year. So I want to see if each of you could share some of your biggest challenges that your team faced last year. And then maybe on top of that, like how you overcame them, or even if you're still working on them, to just share that too. So actually, I'm going to go back to you, Efrain, see if you want to start first.
Yeah, I think our main challenges for 2022, and I had the opportunity to actually work with 2 different associations. So in the Houston YMCA Association, and then I came here to Pierce and Kitsap County in Washington area in June of last year. But I think predominantly staffing was our greatest challenge, and I think that's with everywhere. Sure, I'm preaching to the choir with everybody that's on this. I think our program offerings as well, and our membership base kind of understanding as we're scaling back, we're not going to be the same community center that we were before, and we aren't able to really have the same offerings quite yet. Our childcare or daycare within the center, Child Watch, was open a little bit later. Sports was running at lower capacities. Our programs were running at lower capacities. things like homeschool PE, those things, we just weren't able to offer that as quickly as we could. And then I would say another challenge was just adaptability, having that traditional model of what the YMCA was and how can we continue to adapt and change. Pivot was a big word for the past 3 years or so. So those three things. I think for staffing and program variety, we did come up with some solutions to solve those. We, just really got back to kind of guerrilla marketing within local businesses and connecting, posting flyers, trying to recruit through our staff teams was a big deal, and through our membership within our centers. So going out and, meeting our members and trying to connect them to our programs and get them more involved, tapping into our volunteers, whether that be our, advisory boards and councils within the Y or our greater association board. So just making sure to try to utilize all the facets and the access that we had to our members and get them more involved with our programming and with our Y.
Yeah, I'll go on over Santiago.
Yeah, I mean, Efrain took my two things that I had thought about, because it sounds like it was a challenge across the country, right, of staffing and programming. So for us specifically in Virginia, the minimum wage went up and it had continued to go up the year prior. And so we not only faced a challenge with trying to recruit staff, but also being able to afford staff and continue to pay and increase the pay for all of our staff. And so those were limitations, but things that we were able to learn from and do some really cool stuff, which I think we'll get to share in a little bit. And programming, so much change because of COVID. And we really had to identify what was still relevant, what were the needs of the community now versus what it was prior to the pandemic, right? So just trying to balance both of those, staffing and programming, were certainly challenging.
Yeah, and Audrey, what do you think?
Yeah, I would echo what the guys said about staffing for sure, and the cost of it and just finding the bodies. I think for Greater Boston and for JCCs across North America, we call it the churn, the membership churn. So we were selling a lot of memberships. We were getting a lot of interest in our facility. I think I'll speak to Boston. We've always done a really thoughtful, great job at engaging and retaining. And suddenly post-COVID, we were losing members. We couldn't stop the bleed. So we really had to figure out and identify ways to be better, to engage more, to create deeper relationships. So our retention stayed where it was and grew. And it's still a work in progress. We're now back to having open houses for membership drives, which has proved really successful for us. And our retention rate has gone up a lot. So the people, I feel like we had a year of flux. People's exercise and interest in being a member, staying a member, were also much easier to cancel than we were 3-4 years ago. So 30 days notice, that we don't do a year contract and you're committed for 12 months anymore. We had to adapt to what the community was telling us they wanted. So for us, I think one of the biggest, pivot was one of the words that Efrain mentioned. Churn is the other one. Like in my sleep, I think about churn and how are we going to retain and so that for us was, I would think, one of our biggest obstacles and something that we're still working on.
Yeah. And so, kind of shifting to more of the positive, someone is talking about like maybe some of the victories. I know, like you mentioned, 2022 was it's flexible. So I want to see if you guys could share maybe any victories that your team had, in all the different realms, and then like how it was beneficial. So we'll start. Santi, I see that your name tag says Santi. Can I call you Santi?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
So
Let's start with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, so, I think for us, right, what we ended up doing is knowing that what we knew of the minimum wage going up, knowing that, after COVID, the labor shortage was a real thing. We needed to identify how to continue to provide excellent service. And what we ended up doing was we created full-time positions for our frontline staff, where before, most of our full-time positions were at the coordinator or director level. Well, now we have full-time wellness coaches and full-time membership staff, right? And I give our CEO Adam Klutz a lot of credit for having the vision to implement that within our association, because that has really helped us tremendously in ensuring that we have committed individuals. We can provide them healthcare benefits, and it's really helped us provide consistency amongst all the chains. So that was a big victory, something we were able to get from that. We also, by December of 22, so the year ended, and we were actually able to recover 96% of our membership units from March of 2020. And so our recovery rates, we were very fortunate here in Virginia that we were able to really recover at the pace that we did. We were able also to exceed our membership revenue. So we brought in an additional 600,000 from membership because the demand was there. We had a lot of people that were just eager to either come back to the Y or come try us for the first time. And we had also created some new categories, membership categories. So easier entry points like for seniors and for couples, categories that we just didn't have before. So I think those were the biggest successes that we had last year.
Yeah, no, those are awesome. I like those. I'm going to bounce back to Audrey.
I think when I look back and think of the successes that we had programmatically, our children's programming was off the charts, whether it was camp, whether it was after school, whether it was sports and rec during the day. Parents wanted their kids out and moving and social and engaging. And our camp program, our children's programs were off the charts. The biggest issue was, of course, staffing. So the other program that we've done extremely well in is our preschools. We have 4, JCC Greater Boston has 4, 1 in our building and 3 satellite preschools that are all at capacity. Of course, they operated throughout COVID. I mean, they never really shut down. But I think programmatically, if I were to look at all of our businesses, health and wellness, I'll back up a minute. The majority of our memberships and the people who walk through our front doors come for health and wellness. And that has been the slowest ancillary growth for the agency. So children's programming, camping, preschool, everything around children has grown enormously, and health and wellness ancillary revenue has been a little slower to get back to where we were pre-COVID. I will also tell you that little catalyst to this is January of 2020, we completed about a $17 million renovation on the health and wellness wing. So we closed 2 months later with the highest membership unit we have ever seen. I've been at the JCC almost 3 decades. We've never had membership units like we had when we closed for COVID. So our ancillary was through the roof. Everything was so not artificially high, because I believe had we not shut down, we would have maintained those numbers, but getting back to that level has been our goal and a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Efrain, what about you?
I think some victories for our team in the YMCA Pierce Kitsap counties, we run majoritarily in an inclusive membership model. So most of the things are included in the membership. So, swim lessons for adults and children are included, arts programs, gymnastics, dance, ballet, all those things are just included in the membership model. So I think that having that and really just echoing off of what Audrey said about the youth just pouring back in and parents being ready for the youth to get re-engaged, it certainly helped us as we were able to bring high impact at really big value. And I think that families have been searching for that over these past few years, specifically with how the economy has been, is where's my dollar going to go the furthest? And really, how can we make sure that we're continuing to impact families with the dollar that they're able to give us? I think we also found a lot of success in our promotion this year. All of our projections, most of our centers doubled, and some of our acquisitions that we projected. So again, I just think that families are ready to come back and they're interested in high quality experience, to what Santi was saying, and high quality programs. And now it's just us having to make sure that we continue to have the great staff to deliver those programs. And I will say a last victory would be community partnerships. I'm a really big fan of not operating from the position of scarcity and making sure that, you know, we're lifting each other up in the community. I've had some history working with other nonprofit organizations or businesses in the past that were trying to compete over resources. I think that COVID has showed us a lot, that we need to work collaboratively and we need to have generative conversation and making sure that we're connecting with other entities and trying to lift each other up, because collaboratively is really the only way that we can make a true impact in the community nowadays, specifically because we've had major reductions in our staff teams, our membership basis is so much smaller, and we're operating with quite fewer resources than we used to.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love all the positive takeaways. Those are great. And you know, not to keep dwelling too much on 2022 so we can get into 2023, but I want to see if each of you could share a big lesson learned maybe from 2022 or just like your biggest takeaway from the year. Audrey, I'm going to start with you.
I think I would have to say, to really know your audience, have your finger on the pulse of your community, and do a lot of research to try to understand what they're looking for and what we should be delivering on. I think the example, when I think about health and wellness, you'll notice I don't use the word fitness often. For me, everything lives under a wellness umbrella. The YMCA has a very similar model, probably before we did. I might have copied it from you. But everything for me lives under a wellness umbrella. And given the demographic and the cohorts that were the first to come back post-COVID to the JCCs, we identified active aging, or the older, I don't tend to call them seniors, but let's say 55 plus. And we recognized that they were coming in our building, and we really programmed and targeted that cohort because they were the first to return. They had plenty of ancillary revenue to spend with us. So I think we have been successful and continue to be successful because we know who we're serving. So I think as a community center, decades ago, we would say we serve 0 to death, like birth to death. And you can't program birth to death well. So really identifying who you want to go after, and focusing, you know, we're the JCCs, YMCA doesn't have the C, but I always say that middle C, that community, is the most important letter in our name, because when people started coming back post-COVID, if there is a post-COVID, people felt safe, people felt comfortable in our facilities. We were clean, we were respectful, we followed the guidelines that were set by our communities and our towns. And especially the active older adult, they were coming back, they were bringing their friends. So I think really just identifying who you want to go after and honing in on what they want would be my advice.
Yeah. What about you, Efrain?
I think some valuable lessons, one kind of just easy, big one that I think I saw when working with Houston and working here is, you know, you can only move as fast as you can make your team move. And I think that was just a huge lesson with Houston's a larger YMCA, and we're trying to move at this quick pace as leaders. But, you know, how are we continuing to make sure our part-time staff are brought along with that? And, you know, working here, you know, I work at a large center, and, you know, we just have tons of staff here. But, you know, when we're making a strategic move, or we're saying this is an initiative or this is a goal, making sure that your leaders are positioned in a place and trained and educated on what that goal is and really motivated to be behind it. Because when departments start falling behind, it can really start causing a lot of chaos. And with the growth that we're seeing in January, just making sure that we're encouraging our leaders to push, but also slow down to make sure their teams are keeping pace with them. And then I think the other lesson was just collaboration within our own YMCA. No longer, I think we can't have aquatics programming operating in the silo where they're doing their own thing and little communication, and youth is doing their own thing and health and wellness is doing their own thing. We need to work collaboratively. We need to talk about how we can cross promote and get into our members' heads and promoting through group exercise classes about programming and talk swim lessons about sports. And we're just really encouraging our teams to get a little bit more informed about what we are holistically as a brand, and making sure that we always have that holistic approach with our members, and encouraging them to come back and increase our average visits per member has a big metric that we've been tracking on.
Yeah, and lastly, Santi, you want to share some big takeaways from 2022?
Yeah, I think I echo a lot of what Audrey and Efrain have said. For me, I think what I've been able to take away is that members are really craving connection, and we started seeing that as the requirements, the COVID restrictions started to withdraw, come down one by one. We started seeing more people who truly wanted, still concerned about their health and safety, but they really wanted and missed sitting down and drinking a cup of coffee with their friends and getting together in classes. And so I think we're seeing that people more than ever are really craving to be with each other. And so for us to have the opportunities to do that in different settings, whether it's classes or again, providing that lounge area, just being really intentional with the connection piece, and really rethinking our positions, rethinking the needs of each role. Early on during the height of the pandemic, a lot of YMCAs realized that, within membership, there's so much things that can be done offsite in the back office that your staff at the desk doesn't necessarily have to do if their job is truly to engage or to sell. And so we've been able to outsource still within our Y, but we distribute the load of who processes changes in membership, who does some of the back end things, who answers the phones, all those things. We have built departments from. We've implemented kiosks at our YMCAs to facilitate some transactions. So really just reimagining what it is, the experience that we want our members to have, and ensuring that we can evolve with it.
Nice. Okay, yeah. Thank you guys for sharing. 2022, big year. So I want to talk about what's going to happen in 2023. So even just starting with membership, very big topic, but we're gonna jump in. So I know that there's a typical, New Year's rush. Maybe that's a thing you always hear, whether it's the for-profit gyms, nonprofit gyms, wherever. So one of my first questions is just, it's 19 days into January. Have you all seen a New Year's rush? Were you running promotions like a joint promotion, and how are they going? If you can, kind of share on your New Year's membership. I'm going to start with Efrain.
This New Year's has been incredible for Pearson Kitsap County. We ran a promo with a no join fee. So last year we actually reinstated our initiation fee or join fee and brought that back, and brought back our hold fees last year. And then January was a no join fee, and they also got their 6th month for free, not to be confused with 6 months for free. Because I remember every time I was on a course, I did so many of them. I'm like, yeah, and your 6 months is free. They're like, what? 6 months for free? So yeah, your 6th month free. But we saw great success. All of our 9 centers within our association achieved goal before promo ended. Our center achieved goal in 5 days. So, and a lot of our centers were at 2 times or a little over 2 times their goal. So just a flood of people coming in to come back and get re-engaged with our programs. And I think that having a strategic promotion like a 6th month for free, knowing that the longevity of that new health seeker member that's coming in and trying to make some changes, that might be an incentive for them to keep longer with their commitments. We've also, have some programs that are just beginning of the year programs. We have a program called Kickstart, which is just them getting connected with our wellness coach and helping them on a 12-week journey with 4 check-ins and, what's your goals? What do you want to do? And having that person and that personal touch. And then I would say lastly, with our new members, we're really big on making sure that our leadership, our director team is out on the floor. We have engagement hours, we call them, walking the YMCA, making sure that, you know, they're checking in with the members, meeting the members, and then also connecting members with other members. You know, Jan's doing this workout class. Hey, great. Let me get you connected to Ruth. She's always in that class every morning. You know, I think you both will make a great connection, and having people make those connections, we know that helps increase retention. It helps increase those visits. So those are some things that I think that the new year has ushered in for membership for us.
And I wanted to add a follow-up question on that too, that I'm going to go ahead and add. So, you know, is your organization making any significant changes to your membership models this year, like maybe outside of this new year, the new year join?
Yeah, last year is when we finally started to move forward with a price increase. So we held off for a long time in Pierce and Kitsap County. Our leadership was just big believers in trying to make sure that people had that access. But as we saw that the industry continued to increase prices with the economy increasing the way it was, we did make a small increase, a $4 flat increase to most of our unit types. We didn't make too many changes to our entire membership model, though. It's sticking with the inclusive model. And I think that really we're just trying to keep strong with the fundamentals and the basics and try to be excellent at that and not make too many changes going into 2023.
Okay. Yeah. Audrey, I'm going to move on to you. Tell us about your New Year's.
Well, I wish it was as good as Efrain's, I can tell you that. We're doing well. A lot of very similar strategies that Efrain is implementing at his Y. We're selling a lot of memberships. People are ready to come back. We have a very thoughtful, organized onboarding program, similar to Jumpstart that the Ys do. We call them fit plans, and we have a document that we call a year in the life. So we have a very thoughtful that on day 2, every new member gets a handwritten thank you note. On day 5, they're contacted by a member manager the first 12 months of their life at the J. Another thing we're offering is, we did this last year for the first year, we're offering a fitness reboot where it's free for members. We offered it at the open house that we had a couple of weeks ago for all new members. And we have a couple of hundred people taking advantage of a 6-week reboot, just shaking it up, meeting with the trainer. We're giving everyone 2 free personal training sessions. We just decided to invest, again, trying to be to differentiate ourselves from our competitors. We bought the InBody body composition machine and are including body comp analysis in the reboot. And our trainers are really excited by it. Members are really excited about it. And the InBody we're planning, I was going to speak about this later, but we're using it both for ancillary and as a value added. So anyone who's using personal training services, Pilates services, Master Swim, certain premium products will get their body comp for free. And it's an incredible tool if you are familiar with it. So membership is good, and we're really thoughtful about, again, similar to what Efrain said, the touches. You know, we're very aware that the more relationships every new member has in our building, the more staff they meet, the more members we can connect them to, the better the chance of retaining them. So a lot of intent around that as well.
Yeah, and same follow-up question for the membership model, if you had anything to add on that as well.
We've been increasing every year since we've reopened after COVID. We had to, to hit our goals, we've had to. The only category we've dropped our rates on is our teen membership, went down this year. Everything else has gone up, and we added a young adult membership. So all of our memberships are inclusive of everything we offer. There are some services that are additional dollars. We have 2 pools, one in the building, one outside the building. Our outdoor pool is not included in anyone's membership. It's a separate membership for the summer. But again, similar to the Y, when you're a member of the J, everything is available to you.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing. And Santi, you want to tell us about New Year?
Yeah, so I want to be careful and not, not hype it too much because, that we don't need that juju. But so far, we've had a good turnout. We run our promotion from the 1st to the 31st. Right now we're like 66% to our goal. So we're on target to not just, get it, but also hopefully exceed it a little bit. So we're excited. We had a good early turnout. For us, we have actually been able to do a lot of, we've been intentional about tracking scans and visits. And what we're seeing is that we're on track, this January to do about 96,000 scans. And just to give more context, we're an association of 13 YMCAs. So this is for 13 YMCAs. In the previous year, we had about 70, 74, 73 scans in January. So for us to be on track to do 96 is, we're really excited about that, just in terms of the people that are utilizing our Y and also those who are coming in for their first time. So we're excited. It's been a great month so far.
Great. Yeah, that's all exciting to hear. And what about your membership model this year? Is anything changing or anything you're looking at?
Yeah, so we actually implemented some rate increases between $2 to $3, depending on the category type. We had done a lot of revisions to our offerings in prior years. So last year we added a senior category. We hadn't had that in the past. The year prior, we added a couple couples memberships. And so we didn't do too much tweaking for 23 other than just a few price adjustments because of the minimum wage. But other than that, we're holding steady.
Nice. All right. I'm going to move along to the next question. And we've already talked about this just a little bit, but staffing, which I know is a big topic. So I know you probably all are focused on hiring, I would assume. I mean, I don't know who's not hiring, I guess, but I wanted to see if you could share maybe what positions you're looking to hire in most, maybe those areas that you're needing to fill. And then if you're maybe having success, or even if you have advice to share as far as like marketing your open positions or getting those positions filled, if you can just kind of share your insights on staffing. Efrain, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear from Audrey and Santi because I need some of that, what's the golden magic to get a full staff. So I think the trend has changed. From the beginning of last year, we were really struggling to find full-time positions. And that was our biggest challenge through Houston Y, and I think through Pierce and Kitsap County. I think things are changing a little bit now, just from my perspective. Full-time positions are filling relatively quickly now, but part-time positions continue to struggle, specifically aquatics. And I have a lot of experience in working with aquatics, and I think aquatics is just that kind of strange niche thing where it's you hire in cycles, right? It's like the summer students, the college students coming in, people tell their friends, and it's kind of this cycle. And once COVID happened, especially since a lot of those people came from things like swim team, and swim team didn't exist for COVID timeframe, a lot of those hiring cycles were broken. And the barrier for entry for things like aquatics or things like personal training is a little bit higher because you need certifications for that. So we're just continuing to try to recruit through our teams, build great staff culture. I'm trying to market through other community organizations, being with school districts and working with other businesses and programs, trying to seek hiring through grant funding, but really just having to search through all facets in order to get our staff in. And then we really put a big emphasis on staff appreciation, both at the center and with our association. We have a really great call called a Staying Connected call every Friday. All the part-time staff have access to that, and they get to kind of see an insight into what's going on within our Y. And I think leadership has brought in a lot of transparency to what's going on with our financial situation and how we're moving through this environment now. And I think with that transparency, our teams have been a lot more understanding and willing to stick with us for a little bit longer. So I think that has helped our retention piece as well.
Okay, yeah, Santi, what about you?
I think for us, we it depends on, like Efrain said, the season, right? Sometimes we struggle to find certain positions or certain times. I think overall, personal trainers, that's been a challenging position to hire for, as as nonprofit, being nonprofit, competing with some of the other, big box gyms and boutiques that can pay a little bit more. And so we've been trying to focus on how we can do a better job at creating other ways to entice potential candidates when we know that we can only do so much when it comes to pay. So for us, personal trainers, membership, staff, full-time, like Efrain said, we had a shift where that was a challenge. And now it seems like part-time, we struggle to find this part-time staff that we need to support all of our other departments. So that's been a challenging thing. And for us, really, we focus on trying to promote from within as much as possible. And we really focus on the training aspects and components, because it's much easier for us to have these opportunities come from internal candidates. When we struggle is when we can't fill them with people that are in other positions. So it's hit or miss depending on the time of the month, but it's definitely still a struggle in Israel.
Okay, yeah. And Audrey, what are your thoughts on staffing?
Ouch. I think our biggest need is aquatics and camping. I will tell you, we are paying a lot of money hourly. We are competing with the big box gyms in our community, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be staffed, whether that's a lifeguard or a personal trainer or a group fitness instructor. So we pay really, really, really well. And we work really hard at creating, similar to what both guys said, our part-time staff are the front line. They're the ones talking to our members. They're the ones training, teaching, working with them. They're the most important face a lot of times that the member sees every single day. So we value them a lot. We do a lot of appreciation events for our part-time staff. And I also, this is my secret. I hope it works. I offer referral fees. Write it down. It's money, money, money. So if I'm always asking all of our staff to send us staff, because colleague to colleague, instructor to instructor, trainer to trainer has been much more efficient and much more successful for me than throwing an ad up on LinkedIn or Indeed. And if somebody wants that new employee stays 90 days, even if it's just teaching one class or taking 2 shifts in the fitness center, I'm happy to pay someone for that, because the real expense of the time of interviewing people and putting an ad out and going through all the resumes, I've had much more success with that than I have looking for people. Haven't had any trouble with full-time staff. I think the culture in Boston is tremendous. I haven't lost anyone on our team since COVID. So our FTEs have remained solid. And again, just really taking care of people, valuing them, and paying them well. We've had to adjust our budget numbers a number of times to account for that, but.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's just some great advice. So moving on from staffing a little bit, I want to talk about some programming trends. So I know something I feel like we've talked about a lot over the last couple of years was like trends that happened like during the pandemic. Everybody was outdoors, or esports, or not that I think it's like a trend, but like the idea of holistic programming was more prominent. How you talked about under the wellness umbrella. And so I think we saw a lot of things change. So I want to get your thoughts on that. And so things that came up recently over the last year or two, what do you think is going to stick? Like, what do you think is now a mainstay? Maybe something you think that if you want to add that you don't think is going to stick around. And then, maybe if you're doing any new or trendy programs that you want to share about, maybe something you're just trying new this year. Let's see. Santi, let's start with you. Tell us about programming.
Yeah, so I'll speak relative to wellness. Audrey mentioned Embody. That's something that over the past couple of years we've really focused on. And this past year we purchased 3 more, so we have a total of 4 Embodies within our association. And I think metrics, data, that's here to stay. People more than ever want to know. They need to know like where they are, how far they are from reaching their goals, where before they may have been more content with just a general overview of like, the number of the scale is the deciding factor, where I think most people now understand that that's not everything. There's more to that, there's more to your mass. So things like Embodies, one of our centers has my zone belts that we sell within our center, and we have the monitors and we utilize them through small group training. And so I think we're seeing metrics that anything that provides metrics, those wearables, Embodies, we've been focusing on that and adding that to our programming as well. So it's part of our small group training, and they can redeem sessions like they do for personal training as well. So that's been kind of the focuses that we've done over the past year.
Nice. Audrey, would you like to share?
Sure. I think all the trends that you mentioned are here to stay. I think everything that lives under the wellness umbrella is whether it's metrics, whether it's the Embody, isn't going anywhere. I'm always looking, I think from a programming standpoint, always trying to find a niche, or again, find something to differentiate ourselves from our competitors. So I know we're going to talk about pickleball, I'm sure, at some point, so I won't dive in too deep, but wow, pickleball here to stay. We had the opportunity recently, we have a table tennis, a ping pong pro who approached us and was interested in giving lessons and donating tables. So I now have a ping pong table tennis pro, not, I would say, on staff part-time, but offering lessons and using space that was underutilized prior to putting the tables in there. I think Efrain alluded to this earlier in the call. We have a lot of partnerships, a lot of community partnerships in our community, medical wellness, just any type of partnership. And that's continuing to grow. The demand for that, the requests from partners in our community is really high. Another example of where we're going to jump off with programming, JCC Greater Boston offers a very large Parkinson's program. We have support groups, we have a lot of wellness offerings, classes, and one of the programs we offer is Rock Steady Boxing, which we're licensed to do. And we have this amazing, phenomenal, wonderful boxing coach who's on our team. And we had a call last week about how to expand it both for people living with Parkinson's, but also for the general community. So he will now step up his role with our organization and start offering kids boxing classes, other boxing classes, small group training classes. So, we're trying to just kind of broaden what we're doing and go a little bit deeper in the programs that we're seeing success with.
Yeah, and last but not least, Efrain, you want to share some programming?
Yeah, we've made significant investments with a company called Track My Gym, and just for some context, Track My Gym, they put sensors on all of the pieces of floor equipment that you have and analyze data over a 7-day period. What's being used, what's not being used. We had some really great findings that we had some hunches about, and we're just probably looking to make a rework of a lot of our floor space and making sure that whatever machines on the floor, that's real estate, and we need to make sure that that real estate is being used by our customers, and what real estate is in the correct places. So I think just trying to make sure to reimagine what's going on with the trends. Some big trends is, right, we've seen a huge increase in weightlifting and a big decrease in cardio usage. Some of the findings from our studies were very incredible to see how little a lot of our cardio machines have actually been utilized, and just making sure that we're again using that real estate effectively. Another space that we really dived into is virtual. YMCA has a brand called YMCA 360. It's kind of our virtual platform, and where we have people have access. We've made some strides adding on a virtual membership type, and that's now a benefit of all of our members being able to access that from their homes. And I think that as the usage hasn't been incredible, right? People aren't flocking to the Y to come to virtual. It is a great benefit to have and a great selling point for a membership as far as just the value add. And then I think other trends besides pickleball, I know we're going to get into that. That's been a huge topic for Washington. It's the state sport for Washington now. But I think the other trends is people coming back and getting engaged with the normal programs that we had to offer. But again, just having great staff and making sure that people feel connected when they come to our programs, and just sticking with those foundations that we were previously.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep us on time here. So we're already talking about pickleball, so I'm going to give us a chance to talk about pickleball. So we know that it's like it just like appeared out of nowhere, it seems. I don't know, you talk to some people and they're like, oh, it's been around for a long time. And then other people are like, it came out of nowhere. It does seem like it's clear that it's going to stick around. It's almost like more you start seeing like, okay, people are now programming for pickleball, like recovery and like, all of these things. And so just want to give each of you a chance, if you want to share your thoughts on pickleball and maybe what your facility is doing. Let's go for it. Audrey, you wanted to talk about pickleball real quick.
I love pickleball. Yeah, so pre-COVID, we were dipping our toe into pickleball. We put the painter's tape or whatever it is on the gym, and we, I don't know, bought 3 nets, and we were kind of dabbling in it. Today, we have now painted our courts. When we redid our gym floors, we have 6 pickle courts. I can't offer enough open time. I can't get it right. We have beginner open, we have advanced open. Wildly popular. We've hired a pro. It's been, we found an avenue. We're selling guest passes to non-members that are bringing non-members into the facility to play pickle. We offer so much open time that they're then joining. So it's been a nice feeder for membership. And the clinics, the beginner clinics, the specialty clinics, the one-on-ones that our pro is offering us, it's found revenue. Hadn't even budgeted for it. So, and it's a lot. My operations manager spends a lot of time looking at that schedule and trying to figure out how to add more pickle time, because it's absolutely here to stay.
Nice. I'm going to bounce back to you, Efrain, if you wanted to add your pickleball insights.
Oh, pickleball. Yeah, it's definitely got its roses and thorns. We kind of have a joke. Sometimes we call it prickleball because it can get kind of crazy, but the members love it and our community really loves it. Of course, it's a big sport in Washington, the state sport. And just like Audrey said, we can't offer enough time. Right now, pickleball in our main gym is our most programmed thing. At 22 hours a week, we have pickleball, and group exercise is only at 21 hours a week in the main gym. So that's how much demand there is for it. And, I think that members, and there's been, articles online trying to get people to say, hey, if you want more pickleball, these are the tools to do so. And this is how you get more hours at your gym, and how you can get more emphasis on pickleball. So, just trying to navigate that and being present with the members, trying to make sure there's, we're looking at adding pickleball gym supervisors, similar to what Audrey said, hiring a pro, but just having people that are representatives, getting member volunteers to help lead those groups, because sometimes, we only have 5 courts at the most, and there's, 40, 50 people waiting sometimes for games. And then we've also made some additions in recent times, just giving some pickleball workshops, and those are very highly attended. We put the sign up 1 week prior and getting close to 100 members signing up at our centers. So the demand's definitely there, and it's hard to navigate as well. Like, why are we putting up more workshops if we barely have space and time to make it available? And age challenges, how do we diversify? We have adult 15 and plus pickleball. We have family pickleball for 8 and under, drop-in pickleballs 12 and up. people want advanced pickleball times competitive play, and it's hard to be that because we're a community center and we're for all, and we're not just a pickleball court, but we will really want to make sure to serve those important people in our community.
All right. Santi, do you have pickleball thoughts?
Really quickly, I'm just going to add, it was crazy thinking back, 2013, I had like 4 members who were like, knocking at my door because they needed gym time. And I'm like, it's only, I can't, it's basketball I got to program basketball. And, fast forward to 2023 and my uncle in Colombia is sending me like pickleball videos on Instagram. And it's just so crazy how the sport has evolved. So we are beginning to offer more pickleball across our locations. Clearly, people can't get enough of it. So we want to, we're not at the point like Audrey has mentioned where we're hiring pros, but definitely something that we're keeping an eye on, and we want to be able to offer just more across our association. So it's exciting.
Yes, I've yet to try it, but I would like to. Our downtown is actually getting, I think it might be in a partnership with YMCA of Greater Louisville, but we are getting a like huge pickleball park kind of thing. So I just keep seeing articles about it, but I'll try it out.
It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it looks fun. I want to make sure that we talk about some youth and teen programming before we lose too much time. And so I just want to get each of your thoughts on, we've gotten feedback about like people want information about like engaging teens. It already sounds like, you got a lot of youth coming in, whether that's their parents sending them or what have it. But teens seem to be an interesting topic. So I just wanted to see if you guys could share how you plan to kind of engage your teens, if you have any specific teen programs that are coming up this year, just kind of what you're seeing in those areas. Santi, I'm going to start with you and go around.
Yeah, so we have a few team programs. We have Leaders Club that's really big within the state of Virginia and maybe the East Coast, maybe a couple other places. We also have Youth and Government, another Y program. Health and wellness wise, we offer a program called Level Up, which is like athletic conditioning. So we really focus on having different ways to engage teens within our facilities. And, teens are tricky because not everybody is interested in joining a group. Not everybody's interested in doing something that's like after school, that's not athletic. Or if they're doing athletics, they're doing it at their school. And so it's just understanding the wants and the needs and being able to offer things that are relevant. We were very lucky. We were selected by the city of Newport News to the recipients of a grant that helps to provide memberships for teens in the hopes that they are in a place that's positive, that's productive, and away from gun violence. It was a gun violence grant. And so we've taken that very seriously, and we're really focused on helping getting as many teens as we can within our Ys, because we know that if they're at our Ys and they're plugged into a sport or a Leaders Club or Achievers, then we know that they're going to contribute in a positive way. And we have more opportunities to teach them about the things that, are going to be really important for them as they continue to grow. So we focus on our teens. They're definitely in our forefront. Yeah.
Audrey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, teens, similar to what Santiago said, teens are a tricky cohort for us. In all transparency, I've been dabbling in it for years and never mastered it because of after school, because of religious school, because of after school sports. Post-pandemic, we have got more teen memberships. Sometimes I feel like I am a high school gym. We're exploding. We have more teens than we know what to do with. So we are starting to program a little bit toward them with small group training, teen yoga, talking about recreating, which we had decades ago, a teen lounge, but a really tough cohort from a health and wellness perspective program too. So if I'm being honest, we haven't spent a lot of time trying to program to teens. It's just not our sweet spot.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Efrain? Any luck?
Yeah, with teens, not really. And I've really adopted, I think, a new philosophy over the past. And the Y historically, we're not great in that area, right? We kind of have them to 12, and then once they hit the 13 to like kind of 17 range, they're not in the Y. And I think the problem is that we are trying to program them. Teens don't want to be programmed. You know, they want a spot to exist, and that would be my best advice to anybody that's thinking about starting teen programs is you don't need to add 500 teen programs to do. You just need to give them a space and you know, maybe of course have a staff chaperone, but that's going to be able to relate with them and be able to create an environment that those teens can be, because better for them to be congregating at the Y in a controlled environment rather than to get in trouble elsewhere. So I think the best programming is no programming and get space first. And then identify some teens that maybe you can have as some volunteer liaisons that can help lead and start going into some one-off programming and then start going to some teen events. But you really need to work on building that trust back with the teen community, because again, with COVID and that lapse of all those high schoolers getting to experience that transition from, you know, going from middle school and I'm still at the Y, I'm still at the JCC. Those things aren't there anymore. So you really got to start from scratch.
That is great advice. No teen programs. No, but yeah, providing the space, that makes total sense. Yeah, so we're nearing our end of time. So I wanted to shout out anybody attending. If you did have any of those questions, now would be a time to send them. We'll make sure everybody answers them. And while you're thinking about them, one last question that will go around to everyone real quickly. It's just like a piece of advice that you can share to any of your colleagues out there. What's motivating you going into this year? So advice, or what's motivating you? We'll go with that. So, Efrain, we'll just start with you back again and we'll go around.
Yeah, I would say advice is this: simplify your feedback loops and make sure that you are paying attention to them. Things are changing rapidly. Members have lots of feedback. Your staff has lots of feedback. How are you serving your staff and how are you serving your members and community if you don't know what they're asking for? So how are you making sure that you know, that information, that feedback is getting to you quickly and rapidly, and encouraging your team to be able to adapt quickly as well? So just super simple feedback loops, I think, is a real big factor to success.
Nice. Santi, what about you?
Yeah, I think networking is really key, especially now, because things look different, things evolve and change. And so I think taking the time to meet other individuals that are in similar roles, or, you know, call neighboring community centers or YMCAs. I think things like this is really important just to understand, right? Like I'm here also taking notes, hearing Audrey and Efrain, you know, share some of the things that they're doing, because we're all in the same business, right? We want to move forward, and we have more momentum if we, you know, collaborate and we do some of these things together. So I think networking is important. Talking to your reps too. I mean, they go to different facilities. I know anytime I get a chance to talk to anybody within, you know, any type of service, I always love to hear their experiences. So I think just networking and talking to individuals who may have more information.
Yeah, great. And Audrey.
What seeing my gym cranking and people working out and people back in our building taking advantage of our programming. I think my last piece of advice is, as operators of these large businesses that we oversee, it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind. And we go into, I don't want to speak for the guys, go into a day knowing exactly what's on my agenda, and it never turns out that way. So I think it's really important to be strategic about about the future and where we're going to be 12 months, 24 months, 36 months from now. So I would really, as important as it is to be networking, to know what's happening today, to know what the trends are, really important to find the time and carve it out to take your team outside the building and strategically plan for where you think you want to take your agency, what's coming, you know, just what's happening, because if not, we're going to be caught. Like, then we're on a treadmill and we're not getting off. So I think Efrain mentioned something about cardio being down and strength really increasing. And I remember reading an article about that about 6 months ago from one of the vendors, and everyone's seeing that. So given that that's a trend, you know, is that going to stick? And how do we reallocate space in most of us have limited space. How do we adapt, pivot, to meet the needs of the members. So I just think strategic planning, thinking about tomorrow and not getting stuck in the mud of the day to day.
Yeah, great advice. Okay, I know we're pretty much out of time and I wanted to run through a couple of these questions real quick that came in. Just letting Dan know that this will be recorded, so I can absolutely send out a copy, but we will also be sharing it. So thank you. And then Efrain, we just had a question for you really quickly. Someone would like to know what is included in the membership fee for your Y.
Yeah, so super inclusive model. So that includes, arts programming, sculpting, music classes. We do guitar, ukulele for adults, and for youth, piano classes. Swim lessons are included, although those are just one time a week. And we run sessions like 5 weeks long. Gymnastics are included, tap dance, ballet, hip hop dance, all of our group exercise classes, small group trainings also included. There's no more fees attached to those. The only thing in the center that's not included would be youth sports is paid. Camp is also paid programming. And then some of the arts programs do have supply fees of $10 per sessions.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks for answering that. And I didn't see any more questions come in, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you all for taking some time out of your day. Fun conversation. It went so fast because we talked, we covered so much stuff. But yeah, so we'll make sure to send this out so everybody can kind of revisit any of these topics that we covered today. So thank you all. Best of luck still continuing out the rest of your January with your promotions, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.